What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy holidays. We are very close to the winter solstice, winter for us here up north, summer down south. And of course, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, all those wonderful holidays. So welcome. And you know, the holidays or the holidays can be a stressful time. It can be difficult for people going back and dealing with relatives. Don't talk politics. It could also be a lonely time. So for tonight's show, I have invited two dear friends who are both relationship masters, including Steve Rowland, who is the co-founder, along with Dolphin, of Flix, which is the most amazing website to get all your relationship needs met. And there's some exciting news about Flix that we're going to learn. And then my good buddy and former roommate, the great Paul Sterling, is with us. And we kind of were joking. It's the older white men's club tonight. And rounding us out, of course, another beloved white male brother.
I'm the younger brother.
You are a younger brother, exactly. And the younger brother is going to get us off to a wonderful start with an opening song. Here is Omar Shar.
I am. And welcome everybody. And welcome Holy Days. I just learned today that Hanukkah this year is on the 25th, the start of Hanukkah. So that's pretty cool. And then the day after it's Kwanzaa, I think, on the 26th. So there's a whole confluence of things that are happening at the same time. And so anyway, without further ado, I was going to say something, but it's left my mind. So obviously it was not to be said. One of those secret jokes that I'll share later. So, all right. Sorry. Something happened. A tech glitch. Slight tech glitch. It's my Christmas offering. What do you see when you're alone? What do you feel when you are by yourself? How could it be that you are here? Isn't it strange the way things are? Look at the river flowing by. Look at the colors of a butterfly. Like a dolphin in the ocean, I can hear you calling me. Come on in, you say, the water's fine. I have come to set you free. Never been alone, my friend. I was just a thought away. And there's a deeper love that's holding you, and it's here to lead the way. La da dum dum. Oh, oh, oh. Now that you see you're not alone, and there is no such thing as by yourself, there is a hand that's lifting you into the presence of yourself. Life is a tale that never ends. There is a hand that's purpose in that beat. There's a purpose. And you are the river flowing by. You are the colors of the butterfly. Like a dolphin in the ocean, I can hear you calling me. Come on and you say, the water's fine. I have come to set you free. You have never been alone, my friend. I was just a thought away. There's a deeper love that's holding you, and it's here to lead the way. Na, 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 na. Oh, oh, oh. Ah, ba, da, da, da. Oh, like a dolphin in the ocean, I can hear you calling me. Come on and you say, the water's fine. I have come to set you free. You have never been alone, my friend. I was just a thought away. And there's a deeper love that's holding you, and it's here to lead the way.
Let's give a twinkle. Those of us who have our cameras on, send some love and appreciation to our beloved Omashar.
Yeah, I need a little more love and appreciation. I had oral surgery yesterday, and so I'm bleeding out from the inside of my mouth, and so I was a little just reaching out for some love, brother.
Oh, well, that's send lots of love. I did notice that you did the prelude to the song.
Well,
Well,
I've been taking these crazy painkilling drugs, and I've noticed they put spaces in my brain. And when you're playing a sequence, you have to make sure you stay in sync with the sequence, like a backing track, so that you can do the lyrics in the wrong way. And I noticed that at the very beginning I was out of sequence, so I kept on restarting it to reboot myself, and it didn't work, so I just jumped in anyway.
well, that's, whenever people talk about their impact of pharmaceuticals, I remember the wise words of Timothy Leary. I did one of the very last interviews with Timothy Leary before he died. And I very, sincerely asked him, Timothy, what have you learned? What is the brain? He had brain cancer. What has the brain cancer taught you? And he looked at me and he said, it taught me what I always suspected, that illegal drugs are far better than legal drugs. So
Right, there it is right there.
yeah. Hey, I want to remind people of a couple things. First of all, you can get all things Omashar by going to his website, which is omashar.com. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see where you can get his albums. Get them from Bandcamp. Bandcamp is the most generous. He's got 5 beautiful albums. And support yourself by getting Omashar music, because Omashar music is wonderful. And we're blessed to have him here twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, but you can have him all the time, which is a good thing. You can have him.
I know, right? Please.
Have him. Take him. He's wonderful. I also want to acknowledge that the majority of people watching the show right now are watching on YouTube or Facebook. A big thanks to John and Summer Raymer for the Sign Network, getting us out to all those channels. And you can join us, and it's easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. Globalpeacetribe.com. You can learn all about us, all about our shows, and then click register for the new season. And, this happens sometimes. And as you click register for the new season, it really will take you to the registration page, I promise you. I tested it a moment ago. It's so funny how this happens. I promise you, if you click register for the new season, because you haven't gone on already like I already had, it will take you to our registration page. Now, here's the reason you want to register now, because then you can come into our Zoom room and you can ask the great Paul Sterling and Steve Rowland your relationship questions. These are master relationship coaches, and they are blessing us with some of their time tonight. We're certainly going to take questions from our audience. And the first question I'm going to ask, because it is the holiday season, it can be a very challenging time. And so I'm going to start by bringing up Steve Rowland, the co-founder of Flix, and we'll be learning all about Flix tonight. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Scott. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. And I love what you've put together, such an extraordinary thing. I've known Stephen for many, many years. He and I have geeked out on relationship stuff for a long, long time. And he had a vision and he made it happen. He has pulled together, how many educators do you have on the site?
We have almost 30. We're at 28 or 29.
Yeah, and they're like the leading relationship teachers of, all different practices and ages. And they're all right there in one place on Flix. It's an extraordinary site. We'll take a look at it a little bit, but I want to go right into, Stephen, what is a common holiday-oriented challenge, and what is the solution you would offer to that challenge?
Yeah, great question, and perfect timing to explore this particular unique situation at this time of year. And I'm actually speaking directly from experience with this one, and I'm imagining others can relate too. It's this quality of having such an eclectic mix of people from different backgrounds, beliefs, different ways of being, but they're all from the same family. And there's just an infinite configuration of political beliefs and spiritual beliefs that are possible. And the particular dynamic that I want to spotlight is one where there is one person in particular in the group that's like really loud and outspoken about what they believe. And what they believe, they really deeply feel is true, and they stand behind it. And there's almost this quality of like they're pushing their beliefs into the space
Mm.
without actually considering that there are other configurations of beliefs that might be slightly different. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to get it wrong, is there's this quality of like my way's the right way, and I'm going to impose my way, which is the right way, on everybody so that they can also be in alignment with the right way. And I've had that come up with my family at Christmas time. I've seen it come up. I've heard countless stories about this happening, and it can be like an uncomfortable situation to hold. Like it can infuse some tension into the space, which there's like almost like a it's the holiday times and we're surrounded by our family members. And uh, the ideal situation is a sense of like warm, happy, playful, joyful, connected togetherness. And the moment someone starts kind of shoehorning and imposing their beliefs and ways of being into the group, like there can be like a group tension that forms. And it's kind of an awkward situation. Like, are you the person who tells the other person to like, hey, maybe just tone that down at the Christmas dinner table? Maybe. Um, for me, the sweet spot is acknowledging them in what they're saying and how important it is to them. Um, it's so it I'll actually speak to a poor way of what I think is a suboptimal way of handling it. And that's being like, just shut up over there, stop that, quit it, quit it, quit it. And kind of like putting a lid on their expression, which is inherently invalidating, and might be a relief to the group, but it can also create a new tension and introduce a new tension into the mix. Whereas if we were to say something that's honoring of them and where their heart and mind is, while also including the hearts and minds of everyone else, I think, and I learned this from Scott here, I'm just kind of paraphrasing Scott at this point here. Um, when we set boundaries with people, the sweet spot is that everyone walks away feeling honored and cared for.
Mm.
And to me, that's the North Star. And so in this type of a situation, what that could look like is, hey, uh, Uncle or Uncle Bob and or Auntie Jane or whoever that person is, hey there, I'm really hearing that this is really important to you and it's meaningful to you and you really believe it. And I respect that that's how you feel. I would love to make a request that we save conversations that are kind of confronting and political in nature for a situation that's not the Christmas dinner table. Can we table that conversation for another time? And so, yeah, just make a clear request that's in a way that's honoring and caring for their experience while also honoring of the self and others at the same time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stephen. And just taking a step further, what happens if you kind of politely do that and the person pushes back? Well, now, well, this is important to me. People need to know that our country is in trouble, blah, 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 blah. I hope you don't mind, but like that happens sometimes. Sometimes it works, and sometimes people double down. Any thoughts about when they double down?
Yeah, in that event, I would actually respond similarly, but a little bit more elevated. I would say, you know what, Uncle Joe, I absolutely hear you, and I know that you're talking about things that are really important to you and meaningful, and all of this is worth talking about, and I'm totally not taking that away from you. And my really strong request, seeing as we're at the Christmas dinner table, is that we actually co-create an atmosphere of joy and happiness together. We can talk about those difficult things later because they are important. And I would personally totally love it if we could actually co-create an atmosphere of connected togetherness rather than talking about those hard things right here, right now.
That was brilliant. I'm so glad this is being recorded Because notice how what Stephen did was he made it about the longing for coming together. And instead of making it about what the other person was doing is bad or wrong, he spoke to what he wanted to create and the beautiful longing of his heart. And that's what we always want to do, that ninja move, to go from, instead of pushing up against what the person's doing like it's wrong, just bringing it into what we actually are longing for, what we want to have, what we want to experience. That was brilliant, Stephen. It's brilliant. Thank you. We are going to get much, much more Steve Rowland, but we also have another master in the house, and that is Paul Sterling. Hey, buddy, welcome back to the Awakening World.
Hey, well, several things here. One, first, Omashar, thank you for your music, taking us to that magical place. I totally appreciate each time I hear your music. And I wanted to add to what Stephen said, because I think it was brilliant. And one of the things I think helps is preempting it before the conversation about whatever the hot topic is, whether it's politics or health or, whatever it is, like preempt it by going, here's what we want to have in advance. Here's the atmosphere that we want to have, and any hot topics you might make a request. This is something people actually want to talk about right now. So you can, if there's an opening to enroll people, because if you think about it, we're always in communication. We're doing one of two things. We're either building a bridge or driving a wedge. And it's like having that visual picture of, is this going to connect us or is this going to drive us apart? The other thing, like if you're going with a family member, say your beloved, to their family, what are your requests in advance or your expectations so that you can set each other up to win? If I'm going into my beloved's family and maybe I don't know them that well or I'm uncomfortable, maybe I can make some requests and do shorthand like, ooh, I need some attention or I'm uncomfortable, so that you can set yourselves up to kind of win in that environment. Is that making sense, Scott?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a great point. Preempting, establishing, kind of setting the tone up front. Hey, how does everybody feel about creating a harmonious time together tonight? Something like that.
Yeah, and if you want to be able to spend some time just with your partner, here's how much time I'm willing to spend with your family, and I'm going to need some alone time with you or alone time by myself. So that there's a difference between expectations and standards. Standards are something that we've agreed on together, how we're going to interact, and expectation tends to be one-sided. I expect you to be with my family the whole time and not have any space for us and not have any free space for yourself. In fact, our family will consider it an insult if you need space. It's like, ooh, not a good idea for me. Let's preempt this by letting them know that we're going to be spending a little time alone and time with you. And so how do you set it up in advance to win? And then how do you give each other a code, like you're starting to get triggered and maybe you need some empathy and understanding. What is it you need? Or maybe you need 15, 20 minutes of just the two of you time, so you can sneak away and just be held and get your precious needs met.
Beautiful. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. You're getting snapping fingers from Stephen. We're going to get much more of Paul, and I'm going to share two things. But before I share a holiday tip, I want you to take a moment, because just before we went on camera, before about 45 minutes ago, I learned that a friend of mine passed away. It was not unexpected. He had cancer, and he's been in his last stages for a while. But I want to take a moment just to acknowledge the passing of my buddy, Sean David Morden. And I'm imagining some of you may have known Sean. He was very, very active in the UFO paranormal world. He had something called the Delphi newsletter, which was kind of his ongoing publication, letting people know about what was going on with UFOs. And he was very big on conspiracy theories, the JFK assassination. In fact, he wrote a book about that. I knew Sean, mostly we were both producers. We were the first two producers hired by Reicher Entertainment, but they decided to do a show called Strange Universe. And so we were, and it was, producing a television show is an amazing experience. In that particular show, we had to do 5 shows a week. It was what's known as a strip series. It was on Mondays through Fridays. And so producing 5 shows a week is a lot. And Sean and I were the 2 most prolific producers for that show. And so we were always, comparing notes and comparing stories. Of course, we stayed in touch after that show finished. Anyway, another angel path ascended. Another person has gone back to his earthly realm. And I just wanted to acknowledge my buddy Paul. I was looking at Paul. No, Paul's still with us, thank God. My buddy Sean Morden. So my holiday thing just came up. I had one of my clients contact me in quite a tizzy yesterday. She's recently married and they had their first baby. And the mother-in-law said that she wanted for Christmas to create stockings for the family. Beautiful idea, right? However, my client, the young newlywed wife, has a strong family tradition around stockings. And she also wanted to create stockings. There'd be the stockings that she and her husband and their daughter would use year after year after year after year. And so when she found out that the mother-in-law wanted to create the stockings, she kind of reacted with, oh, that's a very sweet idea, but I actually already have that handled and I have a vision for the way I want it to be. And of course, then her husband, being protective of his mother, got reactive of, why are you stopping my mother from this beautiful thing? And then it pushed her into the story of he's choosing his mother over me. And it's so classic, isn't it? There's so many elements to this little story. First off, it starts with sweetness. Sweet that the mother-in-law wants to make stockings. Sweet that my client also wanted to make stockings, and both have a similar vision of, these are the stockings that we're going to have year after year. This is a tradition that we're going to create. So isn't it funny how something so sweet and well-intentioned can quickly spiral? And if we break down where it begins to go off the rails is when, understandably, perfectly human, members of the dynamic react to an interpretation, right? The interpretation that my client was not supporting the mother-in-law, the interpretation that the husband is choosing his mother over his wife. And I just want to remind everybody that almost all difficult situations start and get worse when we react to an interpretation. In fact, with my clients, I call my number one commandment, thou shalt not react to an interpretation of the other, because that's where it almost always goes off the rails. So that's like an overall thing. And both my client, the wife, and her husband immediately called me and told me about the conflict. And I came in and I just suggested, hey, how about if my client and the mother-in-law collaborate on getting stockings together so that it can be something that brings them closer together. They liked that idea, and that's what happened, and it got resolved. But I thought it was kind of an interesting one, so that's why I thought I would share it. I'm going to bring up our 2 masters.
Wait, Scott.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question on that? Because that was beautiful, and a lot of people think their interpretation is reality. They don't see it. How do you even get them disconnected enough so that they realize it's even an interpretation rather than a reality.
Yeah. Well, one thing to remember is that any thought we ever have about another person, even if it's our spouse, is projection. Every thought we will ever have about another human being is a projection. It may or may not be accurate. And when you recognize that we see that person through our veils of past pain, through our prejudices, through our past experiences, there's a lot of things that can filter it. And so I always encourage people, just recognize anytime you have a perception about your mother or your father or your son or your kid or your beloved or whatever, it is a projection, and know that it may or may not be accurate. And if you're attached to it being right because you think you know that person better, now you are actually putting yourself in a position that's likely to relate to much more conflict. Whereas if you can get curious and just, as Marshall taught us, say, I have a story that you're choosing your mother over me. I'm afraid that you're choosing your mother over me. I'm in a fear story. If we can get vulnerable and own it's a fear story or a projection, and then check in to see if it's true, that creates greater closeness. That creates greater connection. All right. And I'm looking to see if there's any questions. So if there's questions from our audience for these guys, pop them in the chat box now. All right. And I'll just open it up to any recent client you've worked with, kind of like I shared my story from yesterday's client. Is there a recent experience, a recent coaching situation you had that you'd like to share that you think might be relevant to our audience?
Yeah, I would actually like to piggyback off the story that you just told a little bit, Scott,
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. Number one is that quality of not reacting to our own story is something that I'm actually working on in myself and is for sure a growth edge for me. It's like all of a sudden my mind, which is a meaning-making machine, will kind of create a story or assign meaning to my partner's behavior, and then kind of just start to carry myself as if it's true. And then this has happened a few times with my partner and I. And then after, when we kind of drop the armor and our hearts come back online and we start really meaningfully dropping into each other's worlds and caring for each other's parts in a conflict, pretty much we always discover that the interpretation that we had was not actually lining up with reality. And so my partner who's watching from Facebook right now will agree with me 100% on this. And yeah, it's tough stuff, right? Like when we're triggered, our brain is obviously in a survival response with kind of the classic configuration of our behaviors, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And like our brain is it's designed divinely to keep us safe from threats. And so there's like a quickness and an impulsiveness to the way that it behaves in the event of a conflict. And there's just something really magical about the practice of slowing down and bringing our curiosity back online rather than reacting to the story or meaning that we're assigning to their behavior. I love how Esther Perel puts it. She says, humans are ridiculous in conflict. It's like we think we know what's going on. Most of the time we don't, but we're showing up with these pseudo truths as if they are true. And she just kind of dismantles how exactly what Scott just said. She really breaks it down in a kind of funny, comical, and her kind of signature, kind of direct way.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Those are really good ones. And thank you for owning that you're working on the projections. I think most of us are. So there's a great question that Susan Bloomquist put in. How do you handle being the person who does not drink alcohol? The group alcohol experience seems to be important. Thank you, Susan, for asking that one, because that is a very common challenge. Do either of you guys want to tackle that?
I'll offer a little bit on it. Is setting it up in advance and explaining what it means to you. because sometimes they'll take it personally, like they'll make it about themselves, that their drinking is bad, stupid, and wrong, or that you don't approve of them, or that you're better than them, versus I'm honoring myself. And I'd like to let people know in advance that I won't be drinking, and it would actually really be helpful to me if you don't ask me to drink, because I'm trying to, like, if I'm trying to give it up or what it is, you set them up in advance. And if you don't give them the story, they're going to make a story up. So let them know why you don't want to drink, if that feels okay. So then they don't make up a story around it.
You know, it's that's absolutely right on, and it's interesting. I actually had a client today that it wasn't about the holidays, but he has an intestinal problem, and when he drinks alcohol, bad things happen. But he's in a corporate environment where everybody goes out afterwards and drinks, and he really feels the pressure to do that. So just today, I was working with a client on that one. Stephen, do you have anything you want to share about how we manage that?
Yeah, I think there's three areas, because I think there's like there's an internal process and an external process. And the internal process is and this is totally my assumption that I'm making, but sometimes when there's that one person who does not drink, it can be a point of contention from the others, where there's it's going in one direction, like there's like a peer pressure, like, hey, how come you're not drinking? And there's like this undertone of like, hey, how come you're not joining the rest of us? And if I think about the need and longing that's wanting to be met there, it's like a quality of feeling connected. Like there's like a group kind of alcohol sharing ritual is really all about feeling connected and
Yeah.
having a good time together. And so I think that there's a way that we can speak to that underlying longing, in that, I would totally love to join the sense of connected togetherness with everybody here, and share a drink. And something that's I've been focusing on lately is I'm really trying to take better care of myself.
Mhm.
And this is a choice that I'm making in order to do that. But I totally love that you're having alcohol for you. Like, I totally celebrate you in you making your own choices and enjoying your evening in the way that you choose to. So I think like the internal game of like um self-validating that it's okay that we're not drinking and there's nothing wrong and we don't need to kind of take on the criticism or projections. I also think it's meaningful to take care of our own criticism and projections that we might run about someone else who is drinking, because they're free and sovereign master to make their own choices. And we also can advocate for ourselves. Like, there's a way of honoring others and self, which is a theme that I'm noticing is in both my shares at this point. And I think the external process could be like, we can proactively bring our own drink. Like, I'm actually a beverage artist, hot, cold, alcoholic, non-alcoholic. I love creating art in a glass that blows people's minds and gives people like a consciousness expanding experience, because there's a configuration of flavor that they've never experienced before. I'm so turned on by beverage design. And so what I will actually do is, like, my partner doesn't drink, for example. And last Christmas, I made her a custom mocktail that was beautiful and it was delicious. And she drank with us, but hers presented as a cocktail, but it was actually non-alcoholic. And so there's a way to kind of share the group libation ritual in a way that's self-honoring.
That's beautiful. And it's funny, a lot of I'm going to read some of the comments that have come in, Stephen, and bring Paul up too. Because there's some comments that have come in that are along those lines. Um, uh, Bonnie writes, I just ask for a virgin version of the drink and enjoy a toast or whatever. If an explanation is asked, I honestly say I don't like it, and that I had an alcoholic grandfather, so that was an early choice for me. Scotty Satori is impressed with your beverage designer comment, and says, yes, it's an art form for sure. And of course, as you brought up mocktails, a few people have suggested mocktails. Reverend Jeffrey suggests just saying that we're allergic to alcohol. And Ayada writes, imagine how different our world could or will be when this type of communication becomes universal. Absolutely. That's why we have Flix. And that's why the three of us make our living doing this, coaching people. I want to acknowledge Paul for a minute, because we all learn from each other. And Paul, very briefly, as he was giving one of his explanations, shared something that I learned from Paul that's great. And it's no BSW, no bad, stupid, or wrong. And again, this is one of the major things that I implement into my teaching with people. So thank you, Paul. Because often the truth is we have an intention of making the other person bad, stupid, or wrong. Now, those are stronger words than we might think, but anytime we're trying to point out that the other person is wrong, anytime we say, that's crazy, we just call them stupid, right? So being in the awareness of what's my intention, and our intention for every conversation should always be to understand each other and to grow closer in connection. So ask yourself, is my intention right now kind of on the BSW side of things? Or am I truly intending to create greater understanding, mutual understanding, care, connection, etc.? So thank you, Paul, for that Paul Sterlingism. No BSW, bad, stupid, wrong. Thanks for putting that in the chat box, Stephen.
And there's another one, Scott. Can I bring up another thing? The difference between a good communicator and a great communicator.
Absolutely.
So if you think about a good teacher versus a great teacher, a good teacher, the students leave the room and they're impressed with the teacher. Wow, that was a really good teacher. A great teacher, the students leave the room and they're impressed with themselves. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could learn that. So a great teacher is about the student. A good communicator, I said that right. You heard it wrong. What's wrong with your hearing? I'm a very good communicator. A great communicator doesn't care as much about what they said. They care a lot about what the other person heard. And it's like, that's what Marshall did. There was no turning back once I learned nonviolent communication. I needed to learn it and master it. And master it's still a long ways away, but definitely learning it. And it's entering that other person's world. And we basically speak 3 different languages. So I'm giving a lot here in a short period of time, and I'll stop in a second. But we speak the language of the head, which is all about facts and figures. And facts and figures, knowledge is key, vulnerability is weakness. When you're in your heart, it's about feelings and needs. Vulnerability is key. Who cares about the facts? And then the third language is the reptile brain, the language of the hurt. And in that, we're binary. It's either you're my ally. If you're not my ally, you're my enemy. If you're not safe, you're dangerous. And having an open, vulnerable conversation with a reptile is very tough. So one sentence, this is a writer downer for people. I taught this to someone who's an airline pilot. He says he saved the airlines over $500,000 with this single sentence. When he used it in a very tough situation. And the sentence is, what do you need to feel safe right now? If somebody's triggered and they're upset and you're trying to have a conversation with them and they don't want to talk about their feelings and needs because you look like the enemy. So if you want them to feel safe, you ask them, because only people that ask you, what do you need to feel safe right now? They're your allies and your safety matters to them. So that's sort of that takeaway if things have gotten a little upset around the Christmas dinner or the tree or something. Honey, what do you need to feel safe right now? Is there anything that we can do? And once they start to feel safe, it's okay for them to go back into their feelings and needs and be vulnerable and have that open conversation that Stephen was talking about and Scott was talking about. That conversation happens from the heart, not from the hurt or from the head. So that's just a little tidbit there.
Beautiful. Hey, I want to take a moment to let people know how they can get more Paul Sterling. His website is arguelesslovemore.com, arguelesslovemore.com. And he offers a breakthrough call of approximately 30 minutes. And I'm going to put the link into the chat box for all of you watching on YouTube and Facebook. This is why you want to come into the Zoom room, so you can get the immediate links that we offer. And we're going to be offering a lot of links to Relationshoip in a moment. So definitely, it's a good idea to come into the Zoom room. arguelesslovemore.com/book the call. We'll get, or
Actually, if you just put /call, that's all you
right,
need to do.
that's all you need. Okay, there you go. And now, are these calls complimentary, Paul?
They are. It's a chance for them to figure out whether they would like to work with me, and I get a chance to figure out if I'd like to work with them. The number one reason most coaching, counseling, therapy fails is if the couple doesn't agree on the problem, they won't agree on the solution, and they come into it thinking that their partner is the problem. So this is a chance for us to look at what's underneath all that, what's the real problem, and do they really want to work on it, or do they just want to blame each other?
Well, that's very generous of you to be offering those free consultations. Thank you. And Stephen, share with us now about the new Relationshoip.
Thank you, Scott. Flix is a video subscription platform that's specializing in relationship and intimacy education. It's an incredible platform. It's just a total treasure trove of e-courses and video education on communication skills, compassionate communication, emotional intelligence, love, sex, and intimacy, dating, conflict resolution, attachment theory, trauma healing and recovery, and men's work, and so much more. Tantra. It's an incredible something unique has just happened with Flix is we just did a complete website overhaul, and the new website, I love how the new website looks. So this is the new aesthetic, and we spent a lot of time, money, and energy to make the website look and behave as beautiful as it does. And there's just an incredible resource of different videos here. So I'll go into the video section here, and you can see just in the categories here, there's categories, videos on all of these categories here. I'm sure if I select emotional intelligence, Scott will come up here. There's Dolphin, there's Scott. Dolphin's my co-pilot and business partner with the project, and Scott's incredible course, Relationship Essentials, is on the platform. I've taken that course 4 times with his live program containers, and it's just an incredible course. We've also got Paul Sterling on the platform, and as you're experiencing Paul tonight, and I'm sure some of you have known him from before as well, he's just an absolute genius with his frameworks and brilliant use of language and structuring vocabulary to really make things easy to understand. I could listen to Paul talk about relationships all day, and if you want to, you can do it on Relationshoip. And we've actually made a meaningful change to our business model too. It used to be a subscription service. I am personally, my own bias is I try to avoid subscriptions now because of how many they are, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. Subscription fatigue is real, and so just to offer this treasure trove of courses and videos for a really good price point, we've changed our business model. And so we have our Flirt bundle, which gives you a few select videos and a couple courses for free, one for men, one for women. And so there's a free product that you can get, no strings attached. And then, like I've said, we've kiboshed our subscription, and it's strictly one-time payment now. And for the relational intelligence bundles, $39, one time only. And then the sexual skills plus relational intelligence bundle is $59. And that includes communication skills courses, attachment theory, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, men's work, intimacy, sexuality, tantra, dating, romance, spirituality, and beyond. So that's my multi-floor elevator pitch for the new and improved Flix platform.
I mean, it's the best investment you could possibly make. It's so inexpensive. And any relationship issue you could possibly have, you're going to find the answer right there. And it's also a great Christmas gift. Let's face it, most of you have friends who have relationship problems. Now, you can send them to me, where it's going to cost a couple $100 an hour, or you can go to Relationshoip, and you're going to probably find the answer pretty quickly. It's a great, great, great service that Stephen has provided. And I know most of his teachers, many of them have been on this show, so you've seen them. They're excellent. So go right now, while Omashar is playing, because we're going to go to an Omashar song. Now is the time to go to relationflix.com and get your subscription. Forever. You'll have it forever. It's amazing. And thank you, Stephen, very much for that code for us. I really appreciate it. Again, the code for those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube is Stephen10. And he spells it Steven 10. Stephen 10.
That's for an additional 10% off of the current,
right?
Which is actually on sale for our Black Friday and holiday season. So
it'll never be less expensive than it is right now. This is the absolute cheapest you'll ever be able to get. So do that. And as promised, we are going to go to our beloved Omashar. There he is.
Here I am. And yes, I truly concur with subscription fatigue. Holy smoke. If I hadn't have stopped all my subscriptions over the last couple of years, it would be more than my income. And so that is a brilliant model. Thank you so much for that. And this song I'm going to sing is called I Am the Lover You Need. And it's talking about the I am presence within you. Obviously, we have relationships out in the physical, but the ultimate relationship we need to get back into alignment with is the one with our source of all creation, the one with our true heart, our true selves. Because from my perspective, that's where everything, good communication, good everything, comes from, by reaching in rather than reaching out. And so...
Where is the light in your eyes? Where is the joy in your heart? Why are you hiding from me? Staying locked in your doubts. My love is all that there is. Your fear is hurting you so. I know it's all that you need, and that it's hard to let go, let go, let go, 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 Again, that look in your eye. You do not believe in me. You'd rather live in your dreams. I've come to set you free. I am the lover you need. I hold my hand out to you. Is your trust. I love you more than you know.
Let's all twinkle Omashar. I love seeing Therese. Today she got out the tambourine. She had a gold microphone. She was singing along with you, Omashar.
I know she was karaokeing it. She's getting down.
I love it. You know, what's interesting about that song for me, that is your tough love song, right? Like, that's like God, life, whatever you want to call the singer, really with some tough love for us.
It really is tough love, and it depends on the audience who I'm speaking to, but all of my songs I consider are direct communications from the source of all creation, from me or to them. And when this song came in, I was having a really hard time. I was living in Slovenia, and I was had a really duplicitous relationship. The person that I'd married had not given up her old boyfriend. All sorts of things were coming up, and I was losing it, and losing it because I was focusing everything on the outside. And basically, the fist of the source of all creation just bashed on the table and said, "Dude, I am the lover you need."
Yeah.
Everything comes out of that, and then the song came out, and then it's lovely because I used to be in pop rock bands, and so I like a bit of grunge in there as well. Typically, the audience I play for are not so grungy. However, it doesn't stop me enjoying it still. So there we are.
Well, thank you for that tough love, because that is important. That is important.
Thank
Hey,
you.
while I've got Omashar up here, before I forget, we wanted to check in with everybody. I recognize it's a smaller audience tonight, but you guys get to choose. A week from tonight happens to be Christmas. So Wednesday night, Christmas. So the question is, who would like to still have an awakening world on Christmas night, Wednesday night, or who would prefer to move it to Thursday night, Boxer Day, in honor of Omashar and our British friend?
Boxing Day.
Boxing, not boxer.
Well,
Boxing.
boxing. It's because you box up all of the leftovers and your gifts for people less fortunate than yourself on the day after Christmas or Hanukkah this year.
So I always wondered why they called it. I always thought it was Boxer Day, but it's
No,
because
Boxing Day. It was beautiful, kind of from Dickensian times, and all the rich elite would gather up their scraps and their clothes and gifts and go out on the street on the day after Christmas and give away gifts to the less unfortunate. So let's say.
because I'm going to the Dickens Fair on Sunday, actually. So,
Right. I wish I was
so
there.
put into the chat box, everybody. And please, if everybody, since we've got a small audience tonight, each and every one of you, put into the chat box whether you would prefer Wednesday or Thursday, and which ones you could join. If it's both, like Jeffrey said, no opinion. If you can join for both, but let us know yes for Wednesday or no for Wednesday, yes for Thursday. Let us know so we can decide. And that's really, really helpful. Thank you very, very much.
And this can't be a 51% of the audience vote. This has to be 100%. We know how that one turned out. So come on.
All right. Well, I am going to bring up our two relationship masters. And while you were playing, I did take a look at some of what's going on Facebook. It's hard because we go to so many different pages. But there was a question that came in, actually. And it's not holiday oriented. But the question was, how do you manage a pot smoking friend? Basically, they went into a long dialogue, but it was, how do you manage when somebody smokes pot and they get so stoned that you can no longer relate to them? And if you want to tackle that one? Paul, you're smiling. We'll start with you.
Well, in the first place, you start by not doing the BSW, not making them bad, stupid, and wrong for what they're doing, but talk about your own feelings. So when you get really stoned, I get uncomfortable. And the truth is, I grew up with an alcoholic dad, and so this is real, not just making this up. I get uncomfortable when somebody drinks more than I find comfortable. I was about to say when they drink too much, and according to who, when they drink more than I feel comfortable with, when they start slurring or something like that, I get really uncomfortable and I want to pull away. And when you do that, I don't know how to take care of myself without making you wrong or wanting to disconnect. So can we even talk about this in advance? So that, and I want to know what comes up for you. Because one of the things I learned from Marshall when he talks about nonviolent communication, he wasn't talking about physical violence. He's talking about if I'm trying to get my needs met and I don't care about your needs. So if somebody's drinking, they got a precious need that they're trying to get met. So how can we get both sets of needs met here in a way that I don't want to go running from the room? And when people drink more than I'm comfortable with, it triggers my nervous system and I get scared and uncomfortable.
Yeah, thank you. Stephen, anything you want to add to that?
Yep, I've actually dealt with this exact situation, so I'll just share how I handled it. So, when it comes to confronting conversations like this, where there's a potential conflicting of needs and desires, I'm a big fan of tactfulness. To me, the opposite of tactfulness is recklessness. And so by being tactful, what I'm talking about is like really being diligent so that every step throughout the communication process, there's a bridge, as Paul would say, is there's a bridge being created rather than a wedge. And so to me, the target is always stay as connected and understanding of each other as possible. And the moment we kind of pivot into victim perpetrator dynamics or BSW dynamics, as Paul would say, the more likely we are to engage in a conflict. And so how I like to handle these situations and how I have handled it is setting up a container around the conversation that looks something like, there's something that I'm noticing that's been happening between us that has left me feeling just a little bit disconnected. And I'm wondering if you are open to talking about it. And once I've gained consent to engage that conversation, rather than just bulldozing them with my mental or emotional posture, once I've gained consent to actually talk about it, what I will say is, what I'll say next is, it has something to do with pot smoking. Are you sure it's okay that we go here? And so there's like another threshold of consent so that there's a really well established of mutuality in the conversation. And so once it's clear that the conversation's about, I'll give them reassurance. I'll let them know, I want you to know that there's nothing in me that's judging you or criticizing you or making you wrong in this. All my goal is to do is to reveal an experience that I'm having. And I actually like that configuration of words is I would like to reveal an experience that I'm having. And once we're here in the conversation, I've given them reassurance that I'm not judging them or making them bad or wrong. I'm going to make sure that I actually keep sprinkling that through the conversation, just because it's disarming and will create an opportunity for them to be maximally receptive. And so from there, what I actually said was, I noticed that when you smoke pot and we're together, I noticed that I personally start to feel in kind of like a different place from you, like mentally and sobrietally in a different place than you. And I noticed that I actually feel more connected to you when we're both sober. I feel like it's easier to relate with you and to connect with you. And so what I'm wondering is if you're willing, and again, I'm not judging you or criticizing you. If you want to smoke pot and that's something that's really meaningful to you, I fully support that. And what I am putting on the table is a curiosity if you're willing to at least try spending time together where we're both sober. I think that would support me in feeling more connected with you.
Beautiful. For me, that really, both of your answers are perfect. And it's all about staying in connection. Again, if our intention always is to feel connected to our partner, and notice, when am I losing connection? Losing connection because we're falling into right wrong. Losing connection because there's some BSW that's made its way into the field. Losing connection because one of us is operating at a different frequency because of the alcohol or whatever the substance might be. So staying in connection. Yes, Paul.
And staying in connection with ourselves first. Because sometimes I'll give up my connection with myself to be with someone who's doing something that I don't particularly like or it's uncomfortable. One of the things Omashar was talking about, how to communicate with ourselves. So I came up with this little Paulism. If you want to be successful, you learn how to communicate with other people. If you want to be happy, you learn how to communicate with yourself. So taking care of myself first, like in Stephen's situation, if you really need to smoke pot to feel good, I might need to extract myself.
Mhm.
And because it's a way of taking care of myself, because I get really uncomfortable. And so I'm letting them know it's not against them, and I will take care of myself. I am not going to give up on me to be with you.
That sounds like a Paul Sterlingism. I'm not going to give up on me to be with you. That's a good one.
It was live. It just happened here. By the way, if people want more of Paul, there is a book, Argue Less, Love More. And it's I wrote it after talking to Marshall. His great book on nonviolent communication is a book on what to do. And I wrote a book on what not to do because once somebody's triggered into their reptile brain, it's really hard to have a good conversation. So there's 5 triggers that I go through in the book that you want to avoid if you don't want to trip somebody's trigger and take them out of the conversation. It's good to know what those 5 are.
And they are?
In the book.
Oh,
Storytelling, message assuming, cup stuffing, the fatal Fs. Let's see, what did I miss? Case building, storytelling, message assuming, cup stuffing, fatal Fs.
great. And what's the best way for people to get the book?
Well, they can get it on Amazon. Amazon is probably the easiest way to get the book.
Okay. I will look it up on Amazon. Stephen, what's something that you've recently learned? I want to acknowledge Stephen is one of my dearest friends, and he's in a wonderful relationship with a wonderful woman. And as best as I can tell, definitely the happiest, best relationship of your life so far. So what are some of the secrets? What are some of the things that you're experiencing now that you are in a really healthy, mutually rewarding relationship?
I think the one there's actually a moment that I can track that was a pivotal moment when things changed for me. I'd been in a string of short, some I wouldn't even call a relationship, like the time of whether it's a fit or not. And I kept noticing themes showing up between every person that I dated. Same issue, different face. And um, there was a moment where I had something what Scott might call where we have a holy vow with ourselves. I had kind of like a holy vow with myself, where there was like this deeply embodied decisiveness within me that claimed exactly what I wanted. It was very much this internal process of like, you know what? Like I've been working on myself, personal development wise, relational intelligence wise, skill level wise, communication capacity wise. Scott will vouch with me. I've taken 5 of his programs and retreats and coaching and the there's
Well,
just like a particular there's just a particular way of relating with others that I was so longing to be met in. And it's very much in alignment with kind of some of the tools and practices we've talked about tonight. And I just claimed that for myself. I was like, you know what? Like I had a moment where I just like was like, I'm fucking awesome. Like I
mhm,
have so much to offer. And I'm claiming that this is how I want to be met. I
mhm.
want to meet my equal. And so I took a moment to write out a list of characters and characteristics and qualities that I wanted that were baselines for me, and I claimed deeply, not like ambiguously, like maybe hopefully I'll meet that person one day, or maybe this isn't that important to me and I can settle. No, I was like, this is what I want, and I owned it. And a month later, that's when Nina and I got together. And funny enough, a few weeks after Nina and I got together, she shared with me a story where she did the exact same thing. She was like, "Can I tell you a story? I totally wrote out a list of everything that I wanted, and you are like top to bottom exactly it." I was just, oh my, I did the exact same thing too. It happened like probably like within a week of each other. So kind of in our own realities at the time, in our own timelines, we both went through that kind of internal ownership process of what we were calling in. So
Well, that's powerful. That's really powerful. Stephen, once we're having a little bit of, you're getting a little choppy. And I noticed that that started when you pulled up Flix. So if you could close the other programs on your computer, that'd be great, because we want to have the complete Stephen experience. We got 95% of what you shared, but there were a couple of little chop moments.
thanks for letting me know.
Paul, you are also dating somebody. Anything you want to share about your current personal relationship lessons? And
Absolutely. I'm dating another relationship coach. And,
oh, wow.
One of the things she taught me that's sort of an add-on to Marshall's work and what we've all been learning, but really the difference between a complaint and a request. And it's like just having that clear in my head. Am I complaining or am I making a request? And a request, see, what has to happen is I have to be vulnerable. That's the difference. Complaining takes very little vulnerability. Making a request, would you be willing to? And getting vulnerable. And if people can just think about that for the holidays, can they make requests versus make complaints? They're much more likely to get it, and it's much more likely to set your partner up to win. If you make a demand, you get resistance. If you make a request, it gives them a chance to be your hero. And almost everybody I know loves that. You would be my hero if you could set it up where we have some time alone or whatever it is. What do you need to set up to make this holiday season remarkable? And Stephen, I so love the vision that you and Dolphin have put together to make, I call it relationship coaching available 24/7. Because the challenge with most relationship coaching, you don't have a fight at the perfect time. And you may need, conflict resolution tools in the middle of the night. Well, if you're on Relationships, you can get it in the middle of the night or whenever you need it and practice the tools and get a level of mastery versus just listen once. When I have clients and I send them all sorts of different videos to watch. And I say, if you watch it once, it's about entertainment. If you watch it twice, it's about education. If you watch it 3 times, it's about implementation. And you watch it 4 times or more, it's about mastery.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Scott, for being just like this constant stand for love in the world.
Thank you. Tonight's going to be a shorter night. I also noticed that I think it's the holidays, so I've noticed we're having smaller audiences right now. And a few of you have already said that you have to go to meetings and appointments and things. So it's going to be a shorter evening. I'm a little concerned because about half the people said Wednesday night and about half the people said Thursday night for next week. So I am flummoxed about how best to do that. I'll keep the chat and I'll go back and tally it up. But I was hoping that we would have more of a consensus. And
Birthday boy chooses.
well, I'll tell you what I had planned. Celestine Starr, when she was still alive, her birthday was December 24th. And she and I frequently did birthday parties together. Birthday Christmas parties. And it turns out that Michaela Ivy and Deborah Giusti are both collaborating on a big Celestine star event because they've been channeling her. Celestine has been coming to them in very substantial ways. And so I'd arranged actually for them to be with us next Wednesday night, Christmas night, to share what Celestine has to say. So since I used to do collaborative birthday parties with her when she was living, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a collaborative one through her channels. So I think we'll probably stay with Wednesday night. I think that's what we'll do. And that way you guys can wish me a happy birthday. Stephen, thank you so much for what you've created with Flix. It's been such a labor of love, and all the work you've done and all that you're continuing to do. And I look forward to watching your baby grow. Paul, congratulations on being in a relationship with a relationship coach. That's always interesting. That makes things fun. And I love you both very much. Thank you for being on the show.
Love you too, Scott.
Always, we're going to close it out by going to our other white male presenter, our beloved Omar Sharp. Oh, we can't hear you.
Well, yes, I am white and I am male. However, I represent the whole of humanity. I mean, look, dude. And so I just I need to get an inclusion of some Jewish symbology in with this behind me. And it's been a real pleasure. I love you, Stephen and Paul, very much, and you too, Scott, most of the time. And it's amazing. I look at the amount of relationships that I have torn through, that if just a couple of simple words would have brought it to resolution, whether we stay together or not, would have brought it to resolution. So I drink this in gratefully. I haven't had an actual lover for almost a decade. Can you believe that, girls? And so I am knowing that when I do go into another relationship, I'll have the tools and tips necessary. And so this is my Christmas offering. It's not my song, it's our song, and you'll all know it. And so get your Christmas hats out and all that.
Come, they told me, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, a newborn king to see, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Stop. Mute yourselves. Lay before the king, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. So to honor him, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, when we come, baby Yeshua, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I am a poor boy too, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I have no gifts to bring, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, that's fit to give our king, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. I played my drum for him. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. Then he smiled at me. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, me and my drum, me and my drum, me and my drum.
Happy holy days with Omar music, bringing in
I
his
know.
unique approach to Christmas carols.
I know. I got a couple more up my sleeve. I thought I'd never play this one live. It's a kind of a funny one. I mean, what is the lyrics? Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I guess that's the drum thing. However, I know it touches many people's hearts, and I've let it touch my heart, and that's why I shared it with you tonight. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And hey, I do want to let people know what we're going to have on Saturday night, because we do have a good show planned. We will be celebrating the solstice. Now, everybody pay close attention. This is very important. Kristen Hoffman is doing a concert. And when she first was planning it, she called me and said, "Hey, Scott, I want to do a concert on December 21st, which is, of course, a Saturday night this year, and you're going to have your show. Can we coordinate it?" And so she's intentionally doing it at 5 o'clock Pacific time. She's only planning on it being for 1 hour. And so we're not going to start our show until her concert's over, but it's a different Zoom room. I will put the link to the Zoom room in the chat box. I also sent out an email to all of you, all of our subscribers, that's got the Zoom room link. It's Ben Bowler's Zoom room. So let's all start with Kristen's concert at 5 o'clock, and then we will start the Awakening World when she's done, which will be close to 6. And we've got some really wonderful guests lined up for Saturday night, including hopefully more Christmas carols with Omashar. I like those Christmas carols. Thank you. So Kristen Hoffman, Omashar, wonderful guests. That's going to be a wonderful way for us to bring in and celebrate the winter solstice. And Omashar, I'm imagining we will do our sound checks at 4:30, a half an hour before Kristen's concert.
Perfect. I just highlighted the loving couple there because there are our spearheads right here. Fine.
Oh, these guys here?
Oh no, I was putting Paul and Stephen on for our ta-ta bit.
Oh, okay.
And
Well,
I brought up
loving couple. I thought you were talking about.
I did. I brought up Bonnie and Roger by serendipity, I guess.
Okay. Well, here it is. Thank you again, Stephen and Paul. Andrew and Connie, I see that you guys have that you go ahead since I've got the camera on you. What do you guys got going on? I see you've got an event that's about to happen.
Yeah,
indeed.
we're heading to the Roaring Fork Valley, Aspen, Colorado, where I birthed and raised my kids, and rattled lots of cages around the nature of the universe, etc. And Andrew and I will be presenting Elevate Your Frequency in 2025 with a hypnotherapist and bringing in the trust frequency to help people do that inner work that you guys are all talking about. Because getting to that frequency takes getting that shadow out and getting it into the light. And so we'll be addressing all that to help people go forward into 2025 in a higher frequency where the laws are expanded and there's more beauty, balance, joy, and abundance than we can fathom.
Far out.
It is.
All right. All right. Well, have a great event. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. I put the Zoom room link in for Kristen's concert. Again, thank you, Paul, Stephen, and Omashar. Us white men still have a little bit left to give to the world, and I'm glad that we got a chance to do that tonight. Take care, everybody, and I hope to see you all on Saturday night for Kristen's concert and then the Awakening World.
We love you, white man. Just know that.
All right, good to know.
Adore
Good to
you.
know.
Give yourselves a big hug.
Yep, we have a lot to bring.
Yeah,
Big-
seriously.